It was supposed to be just another day of filming Love and Hip Hop, with cameras rolling and producers ready to capture the usual shade, drama, and staged smiles. But instead, the set turned into something no one expected, so raw, so messy, that production was forced to shut down completely. Witnesses say the entire room froze when Mendeecees suddenly stood up, his voice cutting through the noise as he confronted not one, but two women who have been at the heart of the show's biggest scandals, Ciara and Yandy. The tension had been simmering for weeks, whispers behind the scenes, cryptic social media posts, little side comments during confessionals, but no one thought it would boil over like this. Crew members looked at each other in disbelief. Some claim security had already been warned something might go wrong. Others insist nobody saw it coming. All they knew in that moment was that the cameras captured every second of a confrontation that left the cast shaken, the producers scrambling, and fans already speculating before the episode even wrapped. What could have pushed Mendeecees to break his calm image and explode in front of everyone? And why were Ciara and Yandy at the center of it all? Stay tuned, because this wasn't just another fight. This was the kind of clash that could change everything. Love and Hip Hop has never been short on drama, but the clash between Mendeecees, Ciara, and Yandy didn't come out of nowhere. To understand why this confrontation exploded the way it did, you have to rewind a little to the simmering history, the whispered betrayals, and the complicated dynamics that have been building for months. For years, Mendeecees has carried himself as one of the calmer, more grounded figures on the show. Even after his legal troubles, his storyline was often about redemption, rebuilding his life, and standing by his wife Yandy. Fans saw him as the solid rock, the man who rarely lost his cool in front of cameras. But the truth is, behind that calm exterior, pressure had been mounting. Everyone knew he had his differences with certain cast members, but he was usually careful not to let things spill over on camera. Ciara, on the other hand, has always been a lightning rod for controversy. Since she first joined the cast, she's been in the middle of one feud after another. Fights about loyalty, messy relationships, and trust issues that seem to follow her wherever she goes. She knows how to keep herself relevant in a franchise that thrives on chaos. Some insiders even say Ciara leans into conflict because she knows it guarantees screen time. And when it comes to Yandy, she's been throwing subtle shade for months, hinting that Yandy's perfect image isn't as flawless as she likes to present. And then there's Yandy. She has long positioned herself as the queen of composure, the woman who built her brand on being strong, business-savvy, and unbothered. But if you've watched closely, cracks have been showing. The more her name pops up in rumors, whether it's about friendships falling apart or whispers of hidden secrets, the harder it's been for her to keep control of her narrative. Yandy has enemies, and Ciara has been more than willing to stir the pot when it comes to questioning her credibility. So what connected all three of them? Insiders point to a few key moments that set the stage. First, the reunion from last season left bad blood lingering. During one heated exchange, Ciara made a comment that fans didn't forget. She accused Yandy of acting like a saint on camera but moving shady off it. It was brushed off at the time as another shady jab, but those words stuck. Yandy didn't clap back immediately, but according to people close to her, she felt deeply insulted. Second, Mendeecees himself had started growing frustrated with Ciara's constant pokes at his wife. He tried to stay quiet at first, but he hinted in interviews that he wasn't happy with certain people disrespecting his household. Still, no one thought he would ever directly confront Ciara. Third, fans noticed the social media tension. Ciara posted a cryptic message about people hiding behind a fake family image just weeks before filming began. The post didn't name names, but the comments section lit up with people tagging Yandy. Yandy responded with a polished clapback of her own, posting a family picture with the caption, "Real love, real loyalty, no filters." It was a subtle, way of saying she wasn't fazed, but everyone watching could tell. Shots had been fired. And let's not forget the producer's role. Drama is the currency of love and hip-hop, and they knew the history between these three could make for explosive TV. According to one crew member, producers intentionally placed Mendeecees, Sierra, and Yandy in the same scenes, pushing conversations that touched on old wounds. It was only a matter of time before sparks flew. By the time filming reached this particular day, the air was already heavy. Sierra had been telling people she wasn't afraid to expose the truth, while Yandy was focused on maintaining her polished image. Mendeecees, though usually calm, had grown increasingly protective. Fans often say he doesn't like to see Yandy in pain, and that day, when Sierra pushed the wrong button, he finally snapped. It's important to understand, this wasn't just about one argument. It was the collision of three storylines, 3 reputations, and months of pent-up frustration. Sierra had something to prove, Yandy had something to protect, and Mendeecees had a line he refused to let anyone cross. That combination turned what could have been a simple back and forth into the kind of blow-up that shut down filming entirely, and that's the setup. The stage was set with old insults, simmering grudges, and producers eager to catch fireworks. The only question was, who would light the match first? If the background laid the foundation, the weeks leading up to the confrontation were the gasoline. Every little whisper, every shady comment, every Instagram post was like striking a match closer and closer to the fire. What happened on set that day didn't happen out of the blue. It was the result of a storm that had been building quietly, then loudly, until no one could ignore it. It started with a small but noticeable shift in how Sierra carried herself around the cast. Usually playful, quick with her clapbacks, she began showing up to set with an edge. One crew member later revealed, "You could tell Sierra came in with something on her chest. She wasn't laughing, she wasn't laid back. She was waiting." Fans who follow her online noticed it too. Her captions were sharper, her tone more defensive. It was the kind of energy that let you know something was about to break. And then came the whispers about her conversations off camera. Insiders said Sierra had been telling people that Yandy wasn't as loyal as she pretended to be. "She's got everyone fooled," Sierra allegedly told one castmate during a break. "But I know things. I've seen things. And if she keeps poking at me, I'll put it all out there." Word of that statement traveled fast. By the time Yandy heard about it, the entire set already knew Sierra was threatening to expose something. Yandy, never one to crumble easily, tried to keep her composure. She brushed it off publicly, smiling through interviews, posting her usual motivational content online. But privately, she wasn't calm. According to someone close to her, she vented to a friend late one night. "Why is she so obsessed with me? I've done nothing to her, but she wants to destroy me. And now she's dragging my family into it? That's the line." The more Yandy tried to stay polished, the bolder Sierra became. On social media, she dropped another cryptic post, this time a selfie with the caption, "The truth always comes out. Y'all keep watching." Fans went wild in the comments. Some were convinced she was hinting at Yandy. Others thought it was just Sierra being Sierra. But the speculation grew, and the producers noticed the spike in attention. Instead of cooling things down, they leaned into it. Scenes were written to bring Sierra and Yandy into the same space. Conversations were steered toward topics that touched nerves, and Mendeecees was strategically included in the mix. He wasn't supposed to be the main player in this storyline, but the more Sierra threw shade at Yandy, the more Mendeecees found himself dragged into it. One particular day of filming, the cast gathered for what was supposed to be a casual group dinner. The vibe was light at first, music, drinks, and jokes bouncing across the table. But when the topic of loyalty came up, Sierra's eyes locked on Yandy. "It's funny how some people preach loyalty but move real different when the cameras are off," she said, her tone dripping with sarcasm. Yandy froze for a second before, smiling politely. "Are you talking about me?" she asked. Sierra leaned back in her chair, smirking. "If the shoe fits." The room fell silent. Mendeecees, sitting just a few seats away, stiffened. He didn't speak, not yet, but the look on his face said it all. He wasn't going to let this slide forever. Fans later dissected that dinner, seen when snippets leaked online. Blogs replayed the exchange over and over, speculating about what Sierra was hinting at. Some fans believed she was bluffing, stirring drama for relevance. Others swore she had receipts, pointing to old rumors about Yandy's business dealings and even personal relationships. The hashtags Team Yandy and Chiu Team Sierra trended side by side, pulling the audience deeper into the mess. Off camera, things got even heavier. Sierra began telling people she wasn't scared of Yandy or her husband. "They think they run this show," she said during one offset hangout. "But I'm not afraid to say what everyone else whispers about." Word of that statement reached Mendeecees, and that was when his patience started cracking. He wasn't known for jumping into the drama, but when it came to his family, that was different. Tension escalated further when Yandy's name got dragged online in unexpected ways. A gossip blog posted an article claiming a love and hip-hop couple was hiding serious secrets, and while the piece never named names, the comment section filled in the blanks. Sierra liked the post, which fans took as confirmation she was fanning the flames. Yandy clapped back indirectly by tweeting, "People use your name for clout because their own don't ring bells." Mendeecees rarely tweeted, but that night, he did. His message was simple: "Keep my wife's name out your mouth. Period." That tweet blew up instantly, fans flooding with thousands of replies, some cheering his loyalty, others calling it proof that Sierra had struck a nerve. Inside, the production bubble, it was chaos. Producers loved the attention but worried the tension was becoming unmanageable. It stopped feeling like TV and started feeling personal, one insider admitted. They weren't wrong. Cast members began picking sides, some siding with Sierra, saying Yandy was too controlling, while others defended Yandy, insisting Sierra was chasing relevance. Every scene became a minefield of side eyes and low blows, and through it all, Mendeecees grew more vocal. He started pushing back in small ways, correcting Sierra during group discussions, defending Yandy when others questioned her. At one point, he reportedly told Sierra straight up, "You don't want to play with my family. Trust me." Those who overheard said Sierra just laughed, but her laugh wasn't playful. It was the kind that dared him to do something. Fans watching from the outside could feel it. The energy on screen was different. The usual staged chaos had turned into something raw, something that couldn't be controlled. Clips of Sierra shading Yandy went viral. Memes of Mendeecees' serious expressions spread across Twitter, and fan podcasts debated endlessly about what was really happening behind the cameras. And then came the moment everyone says set, the final fuse. During another cast gathering, Sierra allegedly mentioned Yandy's name in connection with a secret that had never been spoken on camera before. The details were murky, but multiple cast members later admitted the comment was below the belt. Yandy's eyes filled with anger, and Mendeecees visibly tightened his grip on the table. He whispered something to her, something that made her nod, but his jaw stayed clenched the rest of the night. That was it. That was the point of no return. Everyone watching knew the blow-up was coming. The only question was, when? The day of the confrontation started off deceptively normal. Cameras were set up, producers gave their usual pep talks, and the cast was told the scene would focus on clearing the air after weeks of tension. On paper, it was meant to be a controlled group. Conversation, the kind Love and Hip Hop had done countless times. But anyone who had been around long enough could feel it in the air. This wasn't going to be a calm sit-down. Even the crew whispered about it while adjusting the lights. "Something's about to pop," one camera operator muttered, tightening his lens. The boom mic operator just nodded. They'd all seen tension before, but there was a different electricity humming across the set that day, like standing outside before a thunderstorm. The cast gathered in a lounge-style set, couches, arranged in a semicircle, drinks neatly lined up on the table. Sierra walked in first, her heels clicking against the floor like warning shots. She didn't smile, didn't greet anyone. Instead, she took a seat, crossing her legs and scrolling on her phone as though the entire production was beneath her. Yandy arrived next, her usual poise intact. She wore a calm expression, but her eyes were sharper than usual. She sat across from Sierra, a quiet statement that she wasn't here to play. Not long after, Mendeecees entered, his presence filling the room. He wasn't supposed to be the focus of the scene, but everyone knew he would be. He positioned himself beside Yandy, leaning forward with his elbows on his knees, silent but alert. The producers gave the signal. Cameras started rolling. The room felt colder. At first, the conversation was civil, almost cautious. A producer off camera asked how everyone felt about recent tensions. Sierra smirked, glanced at Yandy, and said, "People love pretending everything's perfect for the cameras, but we all know what's really going on." Yandy's smile was tight, professional. "If you've got something to say it," she replied, her voice calm but carrying weight. Sierra leaned forward, her tone sharper. "Everybody thinks Yandy is this saint. Perfect wife, perfect mom, perfect boss. But what they don't see is how she manipulates every situation. She plays the victim while stabbing people in the back. And honestly, I'm done pretending I don't see it." Gasps rippled through the cast. Some shifted uncomfortably. Others leaned in, hungry for drama. The crew stiffened. Mendeecees' jaw tightened. He turned toward Sierra, his voice low but firm. "Watch your mouth. You don't talk about my wife like that." Sierra laughed, not out of humor but defiance. "Oh, here we go, the protector. Maybe if you knew half the things I know, you wouldn't be so quick to defend her." That was it. The room froze. Yandy's eyes widened, then narrowed, her composure cracking for the first time. She snapped back, her tone rising. "What you're not gonna do is disrespect my family. You're chasing clout, Sierra, that's all this is." But Sierra wasn't backing down. She stood, her voice booming now. "Clout, please. I've been holding receipts for months. Yandy, you're not who you pretend to be, and everybody's about to find out." The cast erupted in murmurs. Phones discreetly lifted under tables, some castmates already recording, knowing whatever was about to happen would blow up online. Mendeecees stood slowly, towering over the room. He locked eyes with Sierra, his voice shaking with restrained anger. "You better sit back down before you say something you can't take back." But Sierra doubled down. "Why don't you ask your wife about her little side conversations with people you call friends? Why don't you ask why so many folks behind the scenes don't trust her?" Yandy shot up from her seat, her composure gone. "You're lying!" she shouted, pointing directly at Sierra. "You're jealous, you're bitter, and you're making up stories because your storyline is dry." The room descended into chaos. Other cast members tried to step in. One shouted for them to calm down. Another yelled at the producers to cut the cameras. But the cameras didn't cut. They zoomed in. Mendeecees stepped forward, closing the space between him and Sierra, his eye. Voice thundered now, louder than anyone had ever heard from him on camera. "Keep my wife's name out your mouth, or I swear—" He didn't finish the sentence. Security moved closer instantly, sensing the danger. But Sierra, fearless, leaned forward until she was practically nose to nose with him. "What? What are you gonna do? You think yelling makes you right? All it does is prove I hit a nerve." The silence that followed was suffocating. Everyone's eyes darted between them, waiting for the explosion. And then it happened. Yandy, shaking with rage, shouted, "You don't know what you're talking about! You don't know me!" Her voice cracked, the hurt cutting through her anger. She turned toward the producers, pleading, "You're really gonna let her sit here and spread lies about me? About my marriage?" The producers hesitated. Normally, they thrived on drama. But this wasn't just good TV. It was volatile, dangerous, and real. Mendeecees jabbed his finger toward Sierra, his voice shaking with fury. "You're trying to break up families for attention. You're disgusting." Sierra's smirk widened. "If the truth breaks your family, maybe it wasn't as strong as you thought." That was the line that shattered everything. Yandy lunged forward, restrained only by another cast member grabbing her arm. Mendeecees pushed past security, his face inches from Sierra's. "Say it again," he growled. "Say one more thing about my wife and see what happens." Chaos erupted. Cast members screamed, crew scrambled. Producers shouted for cameras to cut, but the operators hesitated, capturing every second. Drinks spilled, chairs scraped across the floor. Security struggled to separate them. One boom mic crashed to the ground as its operator ducked out of the way. Yandy's voice rose above the noise. "You're trying to ruin me. You're trying to ruin everything I've built," Sierra screamed back. "You did that to yourself." For a moment, it looked like fists might fly. Security had both Mendeecees and Sierra restrained, but their voices still pierced the air, raw and venomous. The rest of the cast either shouted or sat frozen, eyes wide in shock. Finally, a producer stormed into the middle of the chaos, waving their arms. "That's it! Shut it down! Shut it all down!" The words rang like a gunshot. The cameras cut, lights dimmed, and the set descended into frantic disorder. Cast members scattered, some rushing to comfort Yandy, others pulling Sierra aside. Mendeecees was led out of the room by security, still shouting over his shoulder. Yandy broke down in tears, her hands trembling as she clutched her phone. Sierra, though shaken, wore a victorious smirk, as though she had achieved exactly what she wanted. Behind the scenes, producers scrambled in whispers, debating what to do next. Some argued they had captured gold, ratings through the roof. Others warned it had gone too far, that legal teams would get involved, that reputations were on the line. But one thing was undeniable. Filming had stopped. The confrontation had spun so far out of control that even the most chaos-loving producers couldn't risk rolling on it any longer. And as the dust settled, the question that hung in the air was heavier than any shout. What happens now? The aftermath of the confrontation was nothing short of chaos. Even after the cameras cut, the air remained heavy, thick with unspoken rage and trembling fear. Crew members scrambled around, whispering into headsets, trying to coordinate security while producers huddled in the corner, voices sharp and frantic. For the first time in a long time, the chaos felt less like TV drama and more like a real life crisis spiraling out of control. Sierra sat in a corner, makeup smudged from the heat of the moment, her phone clutched like a weapon. She scrolled quickly, already typing out cryptic tweets, her smirk still lingering. In her mind, the confrontation had given her leverage, something she could twist into a storyline that fans would devour. But those around her looked uneasy. A stylist whispered, "She went too far," while another shook their head, muttering, "This isn't just drama anymore, this is personal." Yandy, on the other hand, was in tears. Her usually composed demeanor had cracked wide open. Surrounded by two close friends from the cast, she sobbed into her hands, repeating, "She's trying to destroy my family. She's trying to destroy me." Her phone buzzed endlessly, texts from friends, fans, even her kids, who had already seen snippets online. Someone in the room had leaked a shaky recording of the altercation within minutes. By the time filming wrapped, clips were spreading across Twitter and Instagram with captions like, "Mendeecees loses it on Sierra," and "Love and Hip Hop fight shuts production down." Producers huddled together, visibly panicked. One of them snapped, "We can't let this air, it's too much. Legal's gonna kill us." Another countered, "Are you kidding? This is ratings gold. We've never had this much buzz before cameras even stopped rolling." The debate was fierce. Do they protect their cast, or do they protect the franchise? Mendeecees, meanwhile, was being escorted outside by security. He paced back and forth, in the parking lot, his chest heaving, his fists clenched. His voice was low, guttural, as he muttered to one of the guards, "She's dragging my wife's name through the mud. I won't let her do that." The guard stayed silent, but his wary eyes said it all. This was a man still burning, still ready to explode if provoked again. Behind him, Yandy finally emerged, her cheeks still wet, her voice trembling as she called out to him, "Mendeecees, please, stop! They already think this is real!" He turned toward her, his face softening for a brief second, but the storm didn't leave his eyes. "They need to stop playing with your name," he growled. "I can't let it slide." Yandy shook her head, whispering, "Every time you fight back, it makes me look guilty. Don't you see that?" Back inside, Sierra wasn't backing down either. She went live on Instagram before the dust had even settled, her voice dripping with sarcasm. "Funny how some people can't handle the truth. Y'all saw what happened. I didn't even say half of what I know. If they want to come for me again, trust me, I've got receipts." Thousands tuned in within minutes, the comment section exploding with fire emojis, shocked reactions, and demands for proof. Some fans cheered her bravery, while others slammed her for attacking Yandy's family. The rest of the cast was left shaken. Rashida, sitting quietly in the corner, confided to a crew member, "I've been here a long time, and I've never seen it go this far. Families are getting dragged, and that's dangerous territory." Another castmate whispered, "If this makes it to air, somebody's career is over." By the next morning, the scandal had already taken on a life of its own. Blogs churned out headlines. Filming stopped after Mendeecees' meltdown. Sierra claims Yandy's hiding secrets. Love and hip-hop chaos reaches new level. Fan pages replayed clips frame by frame, analyzing every glare, every word, every micro-expression. Hashtags like Team Yandy, Team Sierra, and Protect Mendeecees began trending. Public opinion was split straight down the middle. Yandy's supporters flooded her posts with love and encouragement. "We know you, Yandy. Don't let her lies get to you." Others weren't so forgiving. "Why so defensive if it's not true?" One fan commented under her latest selfie. Sierra's followers, meanwhile, egged her on. "Drop the receipts, sis," one wrote. Another added, "Expose everybody. We ready." Producers, caught in the middle of the storm, held an emergency meeting. The room was tense as the showrunner slammed his fist on the table. "We have two choices. Bury this and take the heat for protecting Yandy, or air it and risk the network dropping us." Nobody wanted to make the call. Some feared lawsuits. Others saw dollar signs. But one thing was certain. The footage had already leaked, and there was no putting the genie back in the bottle. The ripple effect spread beyond the show. Brands tied. To both Yandy and Mendeecees began calling their managers, nervous about the optics. "If these rumors don't die down, we may have to reconsider our partnership," one email reportedly read. Yandy, already shaken, was now terrified that years of carefully built credibility could unravel overnight. Mendeecees, though quieter in public, was battling his own demons behind closed doors. Friends close to him revealed he felt cornered, like no matter what he said, it would be twisted against him. One confidant explained, "He's not used to being in the spotlight for something like this. He feels like Sierra set him up, like she baited him into losing his cool." Meanwhile, Sierra reveled in the attention. Her social media following skyrocketed, and blogs begged her for interviews. She fed into the frenzy, posting cryptic captions like, "Lies always come to light," and "I said what I said." For her, this wasn't just about drama, It was about finally stepping out of the shadows of bigger names like Yandy and claiming her own spotlight, no matter the cost. Even fans, who normally avoided love and hip-hop drama, found themselves sucked in. YouTube reactors broke down the fight frame by frame. Podcasts debated whether Ciara was telling the truth, and gossip forums lit up with theories about Yandy's alleged secret life. But the toll was real. Insiders whispered that Yandy's kids had been dragged into the mess, with trolls tagging them in cruel comments. That line being crossed left Yandy furious, her protective instincts in overdrive. According to one friend, she broke down saying, "It's one thing to come for me, but don't you dare involve my children." As the dust settled, one thing became clear. This wasn't just another love and hip-hop storyline. This was bigger, messier, and far more dangerous than anyone had anticipated. The producers had lost control of their cast. Families were breaking under the weight of public scrutiny. Fans weren't just watching, they were dissecting, speculating, and demanding more. In the end, the producers had no choice but to suspend filming indefinitely. Contracts were reviewed, lawyers were consulted, and cast members were warned to keep quiet. But it was too late. The story had already escaped the set, and now it belonged to the public. What had started as a confrontation between Mendeecees, Ciara, and Yandy had spiraled into something that could alter the future of the franchise itself. Would the show recover from this? Or had the confrontation exposed cracks too deep to ever repair? The world was watching, and for once, even the producers weren't sure what the next episode would look like. Just when fans thought the storm couldn't possibly get any wilder, new whispers began trickling out, rumors that stretched far beyond one heated confrontation. The fight between Mendeecees, Ciara, and Yandy wasn't the end of the story. If anything, it had cracked open a vault of secrets, and now everyone was bracing for what might come spilling out next. Within days of production being halted, blogs began reporting that executives were considering the unthinkable: blacklisting Ciara from future filming. One anonymous insider claimed, "She's become a liability. Every time she opens her mouth, it's another potential lawsuit." That alone would have been shocking enough, but another source pushed the rumor further, hinting that Yandy herself might be under review. Fans went wild dissecting what that could mean. Could the producers really afford to cut one of the faces of the franchise? Or was this all just damage control spin? Meanwhile, whispers about legal trouble started gaining traction. According to one podcast host with alleged inside connections, both Mendeecees and Ciara had been warned by lawyers to cool down or risk breaching their contracts. If true, that could mean financial penalties, suspended payments, or even lawsuits between cast and producers. The idea of love and hip-hop stars battling it out in court added another layer of drama fans were all too eager to imagine. But perhaps the most shocking twist came when a mysterious screenshot began circulating online. The blurry image, allegedly from a private group chat among cast members, suggested that Ciara wasn't acting alone. In the message, someone hinted at bringing down the empire, and Ciara's name was tagged. Fans immediately began speculating, was there a secret alliance forming against Yandy and Mendeecees? If so, who else was involved? Some pointed fingers at castmates who had been unusually quiet online, while others believed it was a calculated distraction planted to fuel chaos. Social media turned into a battlefield. One fan wrote, "This is bigger than just Ciara versus Yandy. This looks like a whole setup." Another countered, "Nah, this is Ciara playing victim and trying to drag everyone with her." The division wasn't just between the cast, it had infected the audience, making the drama feel larger than life. Behind the scenes, producers were scrambling. A leaked email hinted that filming might resume, but only with tighter restrictions: stricter security on set, limited live access for cast members, and mandatory PR oversight before any social media posts. Fans who caught wind of this were outraged. If they start censoring, the show won't even feel real anymore, one comment read. But others argued it was the only way to prevent another meltdown from spiraling out of control. As if things weren't messy enough, an unexpected name resurfaced, someone from Yandy's past. A former associate posted cryptic messages online, claiming that Sierra wasn't lying about everything. Though they didn't provide details, their vague hints were enough to send blogs into overdrive. "What is Yandy hiding?" became the headline plastered across gossip pages. Yandy, exhausted and furious, fired back on her Instagram story, calling the rumors dangerous lies and insisting she would never let anyone tear her family apart. But the cracks in her usually polished armor were showing, and fans noticed. Mendeecees, too, seemed shaken. Once the video of him confronting Sierra and Yandy leaked, his reputation as the calm, level-headed figure of the show was shattered. Some fans defended him, saying he was only standing up for his wife. Others accused him of losing control and feeding into Sierra's narrative. His silence on social media only deepened the mystery. If he has nothing to hide, why isn't he speaking up? One fan tweeted. The speculation grew louder with every passing day. Adding fuel to the fire, rumors of a spin-off show began circulating. An entertainment blogger claimed producers were secretly considering a new series centered around Sierra and her supposed truth-telling. If true, it would explain why she seemed so confident, almost untouchable, even in the middle of backlash. Fans debated endlessly. Was Sierra being punished, or was she being groomed for her own spotlight? The more people speculated, the murkier things became. Every leaked screenshot, every cryptic post, every sudden silence felt like a clue in a puzzle, with no solution. And through it all, one question loomed larger than the rest. Who was telling the truth? Was Sierra exaggerating for clout, or did she really hold receipts that could shatter Yandy's image? Was Mendeecees protecting his wife, or hiding something even bigger? Producers weren't offering answers, but they didn't need to. By staying silent, they let the suspense fester, ensuring fans stayed hooked. Meanwhile, industry insiders began to wonder if this was the beginning of the end for love and hip-hop as we know it. Could the franchise survive a scandal this explosive, or would it finally collapse under the weight of its own chaos? One thing was certain. The drama was far from over. Instead of tying up loose ends, each new revelation only unraveled more threads, weaving a web of betrayal, secrecy, and unanswered questions. And as fans leaned closer to their screens, waiting for the next piece to drop, the line between reality TV and real life blurred beyond recognition. The dust hasn't settled yet, and honestly, it might not for a long time. Love and hip-hop has always thrived on drama, but this is on a whole different level. Filming was stopped, reputations were shaken, and now the entire future of the franchise feels uncertain. Was Mendeecees just defending his family, or did he reveal cracks we weren't supposed to see? Is Sierra really holding on to dangerous receipts, or is she just playing the game better than anyone else? And where does this leave Yandy? Still the face of strength, or suddenly the most vulnerable player in the room? These are the questions everyone's asking, but the real debate belongs to you. Do you think producers should bring them back together on set, or is the risk too high? Should Sierra be punished for pushing the drama too far, or rewarded with her own spotlight? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I'll be reading every one of them. And if you don't want to miss what happens next, hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications. Trust me, the next chapter of this story could flip everything upside down.